The city lights of Chicago glittered like a million scattered diamonds below the 42nd floor of the Willis Tower. It was a humid summer night in 1975, the kind where the air hung heavy and the wind whispered secrets through the steel skeleton of the skyscraper. Muhammad Ali stood on the balcony of a penthouse suite, his broad shoulders silhouetted against the glow of the skyline. He had just finished a charity gala, shaking hands with politicians and fans who still buzzed from his latest knockout victory. At 33, Ali was the king of the ring. But tonight, the real fight was about to begin far from the ropes and gloves. Down on the street, sirens wailed like wounded animals. A crowd had gathered at the base of the tower, their faces upturned in a mix of horror and morbid curiosity. Flashbulbs popped from reporters' cameras, painting the scene in staccato bursts of white. The man on the ledge was Harold Jenkins, a 48-year-old steelworker whose world had crumbled. His wife had left him that morning, taking their 2 kids and the last shred of his dignity. Bills piled up like unpaid debts to fate, and the bottle of whiskey in his coat pocket felt like the only friend who wouldn't judge. Harold had climbed the fire escape in a haze, the city's roar fading as he stepped onto the narrow concrete lip, 500 feet above the unforgiving pavement. His work boots scraped against the edge, toes curling over the void. One more step and it would all end. Word spread like wildfire through the gala. "Some fool's about to jump," a waiter muttered to Ali's entourage. Ali's eyes narrowed, his famous jaw setting like concrete. He pushed past the velvet ropes, ignoring the protests of security. "Where's the stairs? Elevator too slow." His voice boomed, carrying the same authority that had silenced stadiums. Tugging on his white tuxedo jacket, he bounded down the emergency exit, 2 steps at a time. His heart pounded not from fear, but from the fire that always ignited when the weak needed a champion. By the time he burst onto the 42nd floor balcony adjacent to the ledge, the police had cordoned off the area. A grizzled sergeant with a megaphone barked orders, "Stay back. We've got negotiators coming." Harold teetered the wind, whipping his thin gray hair into a frenzy. It howled up from the streets, carrying the distant honks of taxis and the chatter of the crowd below. His hands gripped the rusted railing behind him, knuckles white as bone. Tears streamed down his weathered face, mixing with the sweat that beaded on his brow. "Ain't no point anymore," he yelled into the abyss, his voice cracking like thunder in the storm of his mind. The negotiator's voice crackled over a speaker. "Mr. Jenkins, think of your family, come on back inside." But Harold shook his head, the words bouncing off him like rain on oilskin. He leaned forward, the drop yawning open like a black maw promising silence. Ali arrived like a shadow detaching from the night. He vaulted the low barrier separating the balcony from the maintenance walkway, his polished shoes silent on the cold metal. The officers spun hands on holsters. "Mr. Ali, sir, this is dangerous. Let us handle it." But Ali waved them off with a flick of his wrist. His dark eyes locked on Harold. He moved with the grace of a panther, every muscle coiled from years of dodging punches that could shatter jaws. The wind tugged at his silk shirt, but he stood unmoved, a colossus against the gale. "Brother?" Ali called out, his voice rich and resonant, cutting through the howl like a blade. "What they call you?" Harold blinked. He twisted his neck, peering through the gusts at the figure emerging from the shadows. Recognition hit him like a sucker punch. "Muhammad Ali, that you?" His voice trembled, caught between disbelief and despair. The crowd below erupted in murmurs, phones forgotten as they strained to see the legend himself. "It's me, brother. The greatest. But tonight, I ain't here for no title fight. I'm here for you." Ali edged closer, his steps deliberate, testing the narrow ledge that jutted out just 3 feet wide. Pebbles of concrete crumbled under his weight, skittering into the darkness like fleeing rats. The officers held their breath, one fumbling for his radio. "Back up. Ali's out there." But Ali ignored them, his focus laser-sharp on Harold's haunted eyes. Harold laughed, a bitter bark that dissolved into a sob. "Greatest? Look at me. I'm nothing. Lost my job last week. Wife says I'm a ghost haunting the house. Kids don't even say goodbye no more. What's a champ like you know about falling? Ali paused just inches from the railing now. He could smell the whiskey on Harold's breath, sharp and sour against the metallic tang of the storm. Below, the crowd swelled, their voices a distant roar. Ali! Save him! But up here it was just two men, suspended between heaven and hell. I know, falling brother, Ali replied, his tone steady as a heartbeat. Fell harder than most. Drafted into a war I didn't believe in. Lost friends in that jungle. Stripped of my crown, my license to fight. Lived on rice and beans while the world called me a coward. But I got back up every time. 'Cause falling ain't the end. It's the setup for the comeback. Harold's grip slipped an inch, his boot scraping backward. The wind surged, a vicious gust that rocked him sideways. He flailed, one arm windmilling into empty air, the other clawing at the railing. A gasp rippled through the officers, but Ali was already moving. In a blur of motion he lunged forward, his long arms extending like pistons. His fingers brushed Harold's sleeve, but the fabric tore, a sickening rip that echoed in the void. Harold screamed, his body pitching forward, legs kicking wildly over the edge. Time stretched thin as a razor wire. Ali's mind raced, calculating angles like a bout in the ring. He dropped low, coiling his body for the spring. With a roar that shook the night, he exploded upward, his right hand snatching Harold's wrist in a vise of iron. The impact jarred Ali's shoulder, tendons screaming in protest, but he held. Harold dangled now, 500 feet of nothing between his feet and the concrete jungle below. His free hand scrabbled at Ali's arm, nails digging into the champ's unyielding muscle. Don't let go, Harold gasped, terror twisting his features into a mask of raw panic. I got you, brother. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. But right now, I'm your anchor. Ali's biceps bulged, veins standing out like ropes under his skin. The wind battered them both, whipping Ali's jacket open, revealing the white shirt plastered to his chest. Below, the crowd held a collective breath, the sirens falling silent as if the city itself paused. Reporters shouted into their mics, Ali's got him. He's hanging on. But the ledge betrayed them. A loose chunk of concrete gave way under Ali's left foot, crumbling into the abyss in a shower of dust. He staggered, his balance teetering on the knife's edge. For a heartbeat the world tilted, the drop calling to him as sweetly as it did to Harold. Ali's free hand shot out, slamming against the railing with a clang that vibrated up his arm. Pain lanced through his palm, but it bought him leverage. He planted his feet wider, knees bending like shocks absorbing a heavyweight blow. Pull yourself up, Harold. Use that fire in your gut. The same fire that kept you swinging that hammer all these years. Harold's eyes locked onto Ali's, finding a spark in the champ's unyielding gaze. With a guttural cry, he kicked his legs, finding purchase on the sheer wall. Inch by agonizing inch, he hauled himself upward, Ali's arm the unbreakable lifeline. Sweat poured down Ali's face, stinging his eyes, but he grinned through the strain. A flash of white teeth in the storm. That's it. You ain't no quitter. I see it in you. Come on, brother. The officers scrambled now, extending a harness on a pole, but it was too far, too slow. Harold's boot finally hooked the ledge, and with a heave that tore a grunt from Ali's throat, he tumbled over the edge. They collapsed together in a heap, chests heaving, limbs entangled on the solid safety of the balcony. Harold buried his face in his hands, sobs racking his frame. Ali knelt beside him, one massive hand on his shoulder, steady as bedrock. You did it, man. You floated right back. The wind died to a whisper as dawn's first light crept over the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of pink and gold. Paramedics rushed in, wrapping Harold in a blanket, but he waved them off, staring at Ali with eyes cleared of the fog. Why'd you do it? You could have let the cops handle it. Ali stood, brushing grit from his tuxedo, his shoulder throbbing but his spirit unbroken. He extended a hand, pulling Harold to his feet. 'Cause we're all on that ledge sometimes, brother. Some of us just need a hand to pull us back. And in this fight called life, I ain't never been one to tap out. The crowd below erupted in cheers, a thunderous wave that rolled up the tower like applause after the final bell. Reporters swarmed, but Ali shielded Harold, guiding him inside away from the frenzy. In the quiet of the penthouse, as coffee steamed on the table and the first rays warmed the room, Harold found his voice again. "I thought it was over, but you made me see it's just round one." Ali nodded, clapping him on the back. "Every day's a new round, Harold. Train hard, stay hungry. And remember, the greatest victory ain't in the ring. It's saving your own soul." Word spread faster than the wind that night. Newspapers screamed headlines. Ali knocks out despair. Saves jumper in daring rescue. Harold got a job the next week, courtesy of a construction firm touched by the tale. He visited Ali's camps, sparring lightly with the kids, teaching them that champions weren't born. They were pulled back from the brink. And Ali? He carried on, dancing through fights and life with that same unbreakable rhythm. But in quiet moments, staring out at city lights from hotel balconies, he'd think of Harold and smile. For in the greatest of all battles, sometimes the rope-a-dope was just reaching out a hand.